We will see. We will see. Let's see if this is going to be full screen. All right, gentlemen, we are live. Actually, we're not live. We're just recording, but the film is going now. What's up?
That's wonderful.
It's good to see you, boys.
Good to see you.
What's up, dogs?
Now, if anybody watched our last video, they know who Joey is. But Tony, you're a new face. Why don't you give a little... tell us about yourself. How do I know you, dude? Where do you come from? What's your history?
Jeez. That's a complicated question. That's a loaded question, is what it is.
That really is a loaded question.
It's actually it's fairly straightforward. So I was born and raised in Kansas. I had just recently moved to Phoenix for a job opportunity, just trying to venture out and do something new, look for new opportunities. So how I met Sam was through Father Scott, which he had known me since I was a little baby. That man,
yeah,
he's something else.
Yeah,
in a good way. So Sam was in Texas at the time, but I guess he had met you met, who was it? Zach Dvorak.
Well, really,
who was it that you met at that convention?
Yeah, so for me, it started that I had got to know Father Scott pretty well while he was in San Antonio, and then, he has a way of wearing you down and just saying, you got to move to St. Mary's, you got to move. I'm like, eventually I said, okay, well, Father, here's the deal. I don't know anybody in St. Mary's. I don't know about jobs or anything like that. So yeah, he introduced me to Zach Dvorak and actually your brother Dan too.
Okay. So you met Dan in Texas?
No, I didn't meet either of them in Texas. No, I came up to visit St. Mary's because I had talked to your brother on the phone, and he's like, yeah, we're always looking for sales guys and whatnot, and so we scheduled a time for me to come up and whatnot. And I spent a few days with Zach and yeah, that's how I met them and actually got to move up here. And then it was a housing thing. A lot of people moved to St. Mary's. There's not a lot of housing, and so that was a little bit of a struggle. I was texting Joe Kirby and everybody, and
sure, because you knew a handful of people from St. Mary's already.
Yeah, a few people, maybe like 10 or 15 people, but so then it was well, okay, I need to find a place to live first, and then I'll be able to go up. And
that's where Father Scott came.
Yeah, Father Scott and Zach. I don't know if Zach talked to you as well, but
I think I talked to Zach. Had called me first.
Gotcha.
And then the same day, probably like a half an hour later, Father Scott calls me.
Yeah.
So there's a guy from Texas wanting to move to St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
He just wondered if I had a place to stay.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was living on my own. Just enjoying the freedom of not having to be conscientious about someone else being in the house.
Yeah.
I got a call like, "Hey," Father Scott calls me. He's like, "Hey, do you have an extra room?" I was like. It's like, how did he find that out? I didn't tell him that. Apparently, my brother Alex had told him that I had an extra room. Gotcha. So I was like, at that point, I was like, well, you know what? It'd be nice to have someone help pay with rent. So I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And you know what? The rest is history.
Yeah. The rest is history. Now we're here. Right. We spent...
now we're here.
That's a solid year, I think, together. Because then we moved from the one house...
I think we're just right over a year.
Something like that. Because we had moved in with your brother, too, for a little bit before I got this place, and then you moved to Phoenix.
That's right, because you moved to, James, brother James.
James is a cool guy. I like
He's
James.
a good dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. Well, I'm glad to have gotten to know you. And now we're here talking about whatever we want to talk about, whatever's going on. I know, Joey, you had mentioned wanted to talk about influencers. Catholic influencers have been in the news recently quite a bit.
That's true, yeah.
And in some ways it's really good. Yeah, some ways it's really good.
I know Joey is my favorite influencer.
Joey's my favorite influencer.
That means a lot, man.
He is the platypus, bro. He is the platypus.
He is holding this podcast down. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. But Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the good side of it is like you get a lot more attention to the faith and everything, but
Hmm.
there's a really bad side when you start claiming to represent the church in some way, even if it's just implicitly. You know, you're still a
Yeah.
human, and like we saw with
Yeah.
the voice of reason uh, scandal, that's a huge deal because people oftentimes don't separate like the man from the church, or like the sin from
Right.
the church, right? And
Hmm.
yeah, it could be a huge cause of scandal. Um, I think overall it's a positive, but there's some pretty big negatives. And yeah, I don't know, Joey. You seem
Yeah.
to have
I
thoughts on it.
mean, sure. Yeah. I had a really good talk with a friend last week about this, and it was about a particular kind of, I don't know, subtopic as it
Hmm.
concerns the Catholic influencer, but it did get me thinking, and I thought, who are good people to be Catholic influencers?
Hmm.
Because it really just shouldn't be anybody.
Yeah.
You know, just like not just any guy should be a priest. Not just anyone should get married. Um, don't hold on, give me a second. I'm
This
on the
yeah, this
pod.
is good. Hey, make that the clip.
Yeah, dude. Have
Later.
have Saya come say hello.
Did you see Joey doing this? Like, yo, hold back.
What's up, sir? No, hold on. Give me a second,
Yeah,
fellas.
no problem,
You're
dude.
good.
No problem. Yeah, I look.
Walking
I,
on
I
out like
know,
that.
know some really good dudes who I guess you could classify as Catholic influencers. Um, like Nick Cavazos. He's awesome. He's great. You know he's cool. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just people, and I think there's a problem in general with influencers that the kind of person that wants to be an influencer also oftentimes has a lot of pride issues.
Are you thinking like say these modern Christian influencers, if you will,
Hmm.
they do it. Part of it is like, yeah, they're trying to draw people to the faith or whatever, but at the same time, they're also trying to get as many views as they can at the same time. Are you
Hmm.
saying it's kind of like a mix of both, or is that kind of what you're
Yeah, I mean, I
pointing
would
at,
say
or
so. I mean, it's why are you doing it? And it's
yeah,
easy for everyone to say,
underlying
well, I'm
reason?
doing it to save souls and spread the faith. But, like, while that might be true, there is a um, a huge risk of it becoming a just like a source of pride, right? Like,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, who can
Well, you're
do the
not doing it
most.
for the right. You're saying not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah. I think
I
that's a
can
huge
beat that.
problem. And the other big problem is if you're not squared away in your faith, not just knowledgeable, but if you're not spiritually squared away, you're opening yourself up to some potential really large attacks from the devil. You know, just
For
because
sure.
of because
Yeah.
of the nature
Yeah.
of what being an influencer is, with all that attention comes a risk of just a lot of pride. It's really going to attack your pride, and
Hmm.
pride doth come before the fall. And if that gets out of hand pretty soon, who knows what the next thing will be. And just with all the
Yeah. And
attention. Oh, go ahead, Joey.
oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think you're right. It is about, how secure is your faith, and not just like the feeling of it, but how is everything else that it should accord in your life. Where are
How
you
you
in
how you
that?
apply it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you an established man?
Mm-hmm.
Are you married? Do you have kids? Or do you don't? Because being married, having kids, it grounds you um, in a way that forces you to be more responsible and better suited to be in the public eye. than if you didn't have those or like those things to take care of,
Mm-hmm.
and so that, or for that reason, I think that, like you already said, it is dangerous. Whoever tries to be an influencer, it is dangerous, but especially for young people, young men, because with the attention that it brings, because if you're not grounded, then you're that much easier to, fall.
It's easier to pull you away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And not just from a spiritual side, but even from a practical side. If you
sure.
have, some personal sins you're dealing with, everybody has that, and so I'm not going to knock an individual per se, but when you put yourself online or just in the public eye, it does put a magnifying glass on your life.
Hmm.
And, like I said, we saw it recently with a pretty famous, person that, I don't want to keep dropping his name. I'm not here to call unnecessary attention to it, but, he had a huge scandal, and it's bad enough to have that scandal, but now most people who are in the Catholic, kind of online world, or if they're into that kind of thing, um, now everybody knows about it. Now you have to deal with it, and
Right.
there's, the victims are, now there's more people who see them being victimized, and that's very hurtful as well. And there's a lot more risk with it. Um, yeah, I'd say that those would be my two biggest concerns about it. If you're
Hmm.
actively involved in scandals, at least have the humility to say, I really want to do this, but I shouldn't, I can't, because I still struggle with this thing, whatever it is.
And
Hmm.
and Sam, I'll add to your point. I was just recently watching a video. I can't remember the guy's name. He's been on with Dr. Jordan Peterson, and there's that Protestant guy who goes to college campuses and he debates the Bible with uh, whoever wants to debate him on it. However, so leading back to your point was, so he had become pretty famous at that point. He had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of followers, and he was dating at the time. His girlfriend, she's very so initially he had brought her to the faith.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started because she wasn't, I don't remember what she was before. I think she was either Protestant or Lutheran.
Mm-hmm.
So he brought her over, but it's during that time. So he said that helped him like study up more on his faith or whatever. He had to make sure he knew it because he had to know what he was talking about to be able to explain it to her. So he did, but at the same time, he said, so right before all that happened, he said he got really famous. He said he had really pretty like uh, girl models come up to him and ask him for naughty things or whatever, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
and he could have taken it if he wanted to, like, and I feel like most modern men would have been all over that, like it would have been,
Yeah.
oh sure, I'll do it,
Mm-hmm.
and he would have ruined his relationship with the girl that he actually cares about and a girl that actually cares about him and cares
Mm-hmm.
about his soul. Um, and then he realized like, hey, this isn't what I want. And I just remember he said at the time he just prayed to our Lord and asked him that he do the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he stuck through with it because he was open about it. He struggled with lust or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
um, he was able to, and he explained that to his girlfriend at the time too. He's like, hey, I'm struggling really hard right now. He's like, I need you to pray with me and help me get through this.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did, and he ended up now when I say Christian, he's loosely Christian, but his talking about from the perspective you're talking about, you can get easily dragged out into the world. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
just like a circumstance like that where, hey, you have some really beautiful women approach you because they know who you are because you're famous,
Mm-hmm.
and um, so it was just really neat to see that side of it too, because at least he was open about the struggles, the
Mm-hmm.
realities of what it is to become or to be an influencer. Since we're on this topic,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was an interesting story. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, no, nobody can really say what the reaction would be until that happens. But if you don't have a good idea of what your reaction would be, don't add additional pressures to yourself. You know, like anybody can fall at any time. But if you know you're somebody who struggles with that, especially putting yourself online, like honestly, just get offline altogether. You don't need social media. You don't need Twitter. You don't need Facebook. You don't need any of that. So if you're somebody that knows you struggle with that, it's have the humility and the prudence and the wisdom to make those decisions. Just get off of it altogether. But especially don't put a camera in front of your face and go make yourself look like a hypocrite.
No, don't do what we're doing.
Yeah,
No,
well, I know, hypocrite. Well, here's the difference.
No, I'm
We're not
joking.
saying that we represent the faith. We're just talking, man.
No, we're not.
No,
I'm just joking.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we all are traditional Catholics, but this isn't intended to be like a Catholic apologetics or anything like that. Obviously, at times that will probably be brought up.
Just been having real chat,
That's right.
Just been having real conversations.
Yeah, it's more like an excuse to keep in touch and hang out, since we're all.
Yeah, we didn't do that while we were there. So
Well,
an idol has replaced me. No, I'm kidding.
an idol. Yeah. Oh, what are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this conversation can go in a lot of different directions. I think what we've already covered, who should be it, and what are the main things that are to be aware of. I think that's a good place to start. But I think also a good question to ask is why? Like why are we seeing more influencers, particularly Catholic ones, popping up more, and like why are they becoming so famous? I have thoughts about it. What do you guys think?
Like, why are there more people trying to be influencers, and why are they getting famous? Well, I mean, why are more people trying to do it? Again, I know I've said the word a million times. I'm gonna beat it until it's dead, but it's really pride. It's all vanity. Not all vanity, but like there is a lot of vanity, which I think plays a role in why a lot of people try to do that. Obviously, there's some really great ones too. I mean, we know some personally. Like I brought up Nick Cavazos. Like I don't think he's a vain person. I don't think he's a prideful person. I think he does good work. And like people like Kennedy Hall, he's like the most humble human being I've ever, not ever, but pretty close to it, Taylor Marshall too. I think Taylor Marshall gets a bad rap. Like I think so too. Super normal, super down to earth guy.
Oh really? I would assume people would like him. He seems pretty down to earth to me.
Well, I know a lot of people, at least that I personally know, like maybe those that aren't traditional, or maybe they're just like an indult Latin Mass kind of guy where it's like it doesn't really matter, just do whatever you like more. It seems that a lot of people I've talked to seem to think that he's just always angry, which I always says, like, dude, if you watch his videos, which I'm not saying you necessarily should, I think honestly it's probably best to not watch anybody and just get off the internet altogether. I think it'd probably be better for your soul. But if you're going to, if you're going to be on the internet, and you're watching Catholic content, okay, it's fine, I guess. But if you actually watch his videos, he's like almost never angry. There are times.
Yeah, he's a very even keeled guy.
I know he every once in a while he gets worked up. Like there's that blood oath prank at that seminary, and he was like, "This is insane. Like I wouldn't want this priest like teaching my kids, but I think that's reasonable. I think that's justified. I don't think he's.
I agree.
I think if you were to just say like,
there's something
matter.
called justified. There's something called justified anger, and I believe that is. I would say 95% of the time, that's if he's upset or angry about something, there's a good reason to be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think you get that. You get people who just, they find the faith. I think all three of those people, and at least me and Joey as well. I mean, Tony, you were obviously raised in tradition, but a ton of people are finding tradition over the past
Hmm.
10, 12, 15 years, and even more so in the past few years.
Hmm.
And so when you have a greater influx of people, naturally you are going to also have more, Catholic
Sure.
content creators. So I don't know. I mean, I really do think a lot of people though really do come down. It
And
comes down to vanity.
here's another thing, because you're just talking about how many all these recent influencers. Is also take into account the amount of like conversions that have been happening throughout the world. Like
That's
I know
true.
in France there was like was it over 17,000 converts,
Hmm.
and I forget which Muslim country, but there were 12,000 baptisms just recently too.
Was that
So there's been an
Azerbaijan?
influx of where?
Was it Azerbaijan?
Oh, I don't remember the region. I just remember showing it's like there was
Hmm.
a topic I saw. It said like I think there was over 12,000 Muslim conversions or
Hmm.
baptisms, if you will.
Hmm.
And I was like, I've noticed that too. Like it's been a lot more. I feel like it's been because Christians are usually hated on pretty thoroughly throughout the world, but
Pretty
I feel like
consistently.
recently there's been a lot more attention been drawn to it. And I want to say I believe part of it all started back in 2019 when COVID started, or 2020? What
I
year
think
was
it was.
that?
I think it was 19. No,
2019.
no.
Like the very end of it. Lockdown happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say I have a feeling that's when a lot of people started getting interested in fitness. A lot of it had to do with because people are depressed. You're stuck in your house. You can't go anywhere. People are looking for something, something real to hold on to during that time in history or whatever. And so, which wasn't that long ago, 5 years ago, six
Hmm.
years ago, people were looking for an outlet, something to hold on to, if you will. And I have a feeling, I think a lot of throughout because people are suffering, and suffering is a good metric, and that
Hmm.
suffering usually leads people to Christ.
Hmm.
Because we have to carry our crosses, but through our Lord, He makes it
Hmm.
easier to bear. And so I feel like a lot of people were suffering during that time. People were losing family members, businesses were getting shut down, and all this stuff. And so people were like, "Well, who do you turn to?" It's like, well, there's only one person you can turn to
Hmm.
whether your life is going well or going bad. There's one person that you can always turn to who will always be there.
Hmm.
And so I want to say that would probably be my guess is kind of where that all started.
Hmm.
You kind of had
Hmm.
people like getting more interested in the faith, and then probably from there, like you were saying, Joey, was more influencers. Like, hey, this is
Yeah.
cool. Maybe try to bring people on, try to get it. I would say create a trend, which that's kind of usually what it turns into.
Hmm.
But I would say it's still to be better. It's still better to be exposed to it, better than not, like ever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm not saying turn it into like a popularity contest, but I'd say at least having some exposure is a good thing.
Hmm.
But those are just my thoughts on
Hmm.
for that, anyways.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I think a lot of these people, they mean really well because they're very excited about the faith, and either they're reverts
Hmm.
or they're converts. And so they've been, like that fire has been relit for them, and they're excited about the faith,
Hmm.
and they know the importance of it, and they just want to like pass that on,
Hmm.
and they want to convey that and hope people experience the same conversion that they had.
Hmm.
So I think most of them mean well, you know,
Yeah.
and just like any other kind of movement, it's not just it's not just um, it's not just the intellectual side of it. There's also the aesthetic side of it. Things have to be good and also look good, um, so that they attain towards more beauty as a point to God more. you know. And yeah, I think that because of the of this excitement that they have for their faith, they try to present it as as
More of like a
easily digestible,
Hmm.
you know, and sometimes
kind of
that's good
like
and
a
bad.
kind of like a good feeling or like a good vibe or some like a
Mhm.
some sort of feeling. Yeah, I kind of agree because I feel like a lot of it is kind of focused on like, oh, I felt so much better. While feeling, I'm not going to disregard feelings, like they do matter,
Sure.
but in context of religion, it's not the primary
Hmm.
thing. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the influencers would have that kind of thing where oh they felt a certain way at this specific time, and sure that can help to like hey God gives you moments of consolation and moments of
Hmm.
desolation, so you could be feeling really good like you're on top of the moon, and then the next day you could just be down the dumps. So
Hmm.
I feel like with that, there is a lot of like, oh, good feeling. It's all good vibes, but in reality,
Mhm.
that's just that's not even important. But I see where you're
Right.
going though with the
Yeah.
Feelings are undoubtedly the most powerful influence we have on our lives, but
Hmm.
they're so fleeting. You know, like there's been times when I just felt, like you said, on top of the world at 6 a.m. and then come noon, I'm just like, so stressed out and everything's going wrong, and then like by the evening, I'm like, all right, perfect, back at peace, right? And
Hmm.
that fluctuation, it's natural, and I guess it's a good thing, right? Like in of itself, it's kind of a good thing, um, but it can be very misleading. And if you're letting your emotions dictate what you do, it's totally wrong. Like
Hmm.
you will end up, you might make the right decision at times, right? If you have a great moment of consolation and you let that feeling take you, like good. But you have to know that feeling is going to disappear, and that should not change how you behave or what you do. You know what I mean? I don't know if that made
Yeah,
sense
for
how
sure.
I stated that, but
Yeah. Don't let your emotions be the
or
primary.
dictate your actions.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
And that's
our
just common sense, you know. But people
it
don't ever
should
do,
be,
or
it should be,
yeah, it should be, you know. But
yeah,
then people know that to be true, and yet they still
mm-hmm.
allow
That's just
themselves to
part
be
of being
controlled by it.
Yeah,
that's just part of being human.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard because they're such a strong influence, but they just can't be relied on. But the more and more we get into this world, the increasingly secular world with online, and everything has become like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you like? How does this make you feel? How does it's like no, like none of that matters. It doesn't. Not to say it doesn't matter because it does, but we give it way too much weight. You know,
Hmm.
there's a line in a song by what's the guy's name? Hallowed. I think Hallowed.
Hmm.
Yeah, the musician, and it says, God wants us to be good, not feel good, or something like that.
Yeah.
But nobody understands that anymore, man. Like you get so much more dopamine just scrolling on Instagram, and you'll convince yourself that, oh, I follow some Catholic pages, so really I'm learning about the faith, but really you're just mindlessly scrolling to get the dopamine, the bright colors, the
Hmm.
image, the constant stimulation. Just get off of it altogether. We say as hypocrites, but and so we're being trained from a very young age in this world to rely on our emotions and our desires and not separate our desires from our choice making part of our
Hmm.
brain, I guess. That didn't make sense, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, it didn't. But I know what you're trying to say, but and I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's like,
thanks. I'm not known for being a fantastic communicator.
we're gonna have to start this episode over. I'm sorry, guys.
Ah, sorry guys. All right, let's restart. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's okay, man. No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, as humans, we're in a continual journey of realigning um, our will to be God's will.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes like getting our emotions under control so that they're subject to the will and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
And we get to make that choice every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
Could you also say
yeah.
there's a misunderstanding of what your will actually is too? Because I think a lot of people use that term as a desire
Hmm.
or a want,
Oh, I see. Yeah. Hmm.
when you may not will to necessarily get up, wake up early and go to mass or something like that. Like you may
Hmm.
not like want to do that, but you do want to love God, and that's what He asks you to do. So you conform your desires to your intellectual,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's properly what your will actually is, or what it should be. I don't know. Is that right, or am I
Could be.
completely
Let's ask
off?
St. Thomas.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It sounds good.
Thomas probably has a lot to say on it.
Let me call him up real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
What
Not
do you guys
sure.
think about priest influencers? Yeah, I feel like that's
Influencers,
a
I don't like
interesting
it.
topic.
As
Yeah.
influencers, I don't like it because
Oh,
it's
I guess. Sorry.
well, I
Go
mean, I
ahead.
guess it just
I
depends on
can.
what you mean, because they are the
Yeah.
only people who really have the job to teach the faith, right? Like lay
Hmm.
people generally don't have that as a job. That is a priest's job.
Right.
So in some sense, they should be the only influencers. But when I think
Influencers.
of
Hmm.
influencer, I'm not thinking of a priest or like Bishop Fulton Sheen. Like I don't think of Fulton Sheen as being
Hmm.
an influencer. Um,
Right. Right.
but I
Well, you
guess
know who Father. You know who Father Mike Schmitz is, right?
mhm.
Hmm.
So he's kind of like one of those priests. You could say he's an influencer, but he's more of like uh what's the word? All right, I mean he makes videos and stuff like that. He does Bible in the ear. Like I feel like that's actually really good because
Mhm.
it also helps that he's very well, he's very high spirit. Like he's very what's the word? He's very encouraging. You
Hmm.
can he loves what he does too. Like
Mhm.
you can tell he's
Yeah.
he's he's on fire.
Mhm.
And so when you have those type of
Nick's on.
priests, uh, doing those kind of, I feel like that's more of a help than not. I feel like that's a really good thing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Bonnie's here.
Oh,
Bon Bon.
Bonnie.
Bonnie, Bonnie has
Say
entered the
Wait.
Bonnie.
chat.
All right,
We
Bonnie,
got
we
to
gotta get her.
get the cat in here. Come here, Nemi.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know. It's just that
There.
I don't love the idea of influencers, but it's because of the connotation that it has. They should
Sure. Yeah.
maybe not
Yeah.
be online as a like personal use, like habitual use or something like that. But
Yeah.
you do have to use you do have to go into the world to preach it, to preach the gospel,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of hard to preach the gospel to people if you just live in your room with the door shut and never go outside. And the way you reach people a lot nowadays is online. So
Hmm.
from that perspective, I think it's a good thing. I don't know. I guess it just
Yeah.
depends on circumstance.
Yeah. I think all of this can work as kind of a funnel towards someone becoming Catholic. Because a non-Catholic might see some Catholic influencer online and then get interested in it, you know,
Hmm.
and then that's one of them going to mass for the first time and all that stuff, and then finally they meet a priest, you know. So I think that it can be good, obviously, and like there's different levels to priest being online. You know, how extensive is their online um, reach,
Hmm.
because someone like Father Mike Schmidt, he has a pretty large one,
Hmm.
and he seems to be more. involved, I guess, when it comes to um, spreading the gospel online. But then I think about someone like Father Nix,
Mm-hmm.
who's not that well known,
Mm-hmm.
um, but his online presence, um, like the kinds of videos that he puts out, they're rich with the knowledge
Mm-hmm.
of the faith, and that's pretty much the extent of his online presence. Yo, what up,
What up,
Nick?
Nick?
Howdy do, Nick.
What's up?
What's
How do I
Good to see you,
cracking?
sound?
man.
It's going pretty well.
Sing for us.
Can you do I sound all right? I got a new mic.
Yeah, dude, you sound
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, you sound.
Okay, that's good. I spent a while messing around with it. Okay, I don't want to cut off the conversation, but I'm just gonna say never take your car to a dealership, man. It is the worst thing ever. I got an air filter replacement, oil change, and a tire rotation. They charged me $500.
Yikes.
And I don't know. I took it in at 9 a.m. this morning, and they just now got it back to me. And I asked them, like, oh, how long do you think it'll take you? Because I was considering just waiting there. Like I took like a Dewey Rames Bible and was just gonna read it like in their waiting area for like a couple hours. They're like, oh, it'll just be a few hours. But they offered to Uber you home. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just do that. And then yeah, here we are at 5 o'clock. But anyways,
I feel like I should check
Right,
to
I was
make sure
just-
the audio is recording real quick. Because I wasn't thinking about that. I think it is.
Hmm.
Alright, I think it is. We're good. We're good.
but sorry, didn't mean to cut off the combo.
Okay, so
No,
I
man, it's all
actually,
good.
I actually have a question for Joe and Sam. So you both are converts now.
Mhm.
There is an issue with, especially when someone new comes to the faith. Some of the faithful tend, like people who are Catholic, like when somebody new comes into your church and like, hey, let's just say they're not dressed appropriately or whatever, like it might be their first time there and they don't know the dress code per se, and then somebody comes and chews them out for being dressed the way they are. Um, how would you? I don't know. Let's just say for example, like, hey, you both were going to mass for the first time, but you decided to wear t-shirt, shorts, and flip flops,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody chewed you out because like, hey, that's not acceptable here. Like, how would you navigate that? And then the second follow-up question is how would you explain to people who are interested in the faith? Don't let that be a discouragement for you, even if people do come up and say that, because it will happen. It happens everywhere.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you'll have those few individuals in the whatever parish that feel obligated to chew you out
Mm-hmm.
uh, for something you weren't aware of to begin with. So how
Mhm.
how would you navigate that personally, and then what would be your suggestion to other people that are interested in the faith to navigate that as well?
Well,
You want to go first, Sam?
yeah, I can go first. First, let me set the record straight. I'm not a convert. I grew up Catholic,
Well,
but I did
that's
grow
true.
up. I grew up in the Novus Ordo and then like came over to tradition. But just to avoid scandal, so my parents, don't
It's
get
like-
upset.
sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Butts, or anything, but
Well, I'll tell a story. I was once at the San Antonio Chapel, and I forgot if it was Friday or Saturday Mass, but it wasn't Sunday. I know that. And I was in line for confession in the back, and a lady comes in with her mother. Obvious they've never been inside a traditional church before, maybe never even a Catholic church, period. They were wearing nothing like super, super immodest, but, just stuff that you wouldn't normally see at a traditional church, like, tight blue jeans and, like, yeah, I mean, just
what Sam used to wear.
yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, and they were just sitting there praying, and so I had made a note of that. I was in line of confession, but I knew they weren't from here and anything, so wanted to go talk to them afterwards and just introduce myself, get to know them, see what brought them over to visit. And as I was standing in line, a lady comes up and leans over to him and is like, next time you come in here, no blue jeans. It's unacceptable. You have to wear a skirt and you don't even have a veil on. Like, what's wrong with you? And I was so mad, dude. I was so mad because when I came over to tradition, I had a little bit of an idea of what to expect, just because I'd seen some stuff online, but still, totally did not know really all the proper conduct and like the details and everything. And so I could empathize with this lady. But afterwards, she didn't even respond to the lady. She just looked at her, got kind of mad, and then stood up and walked out, took her mom and left. And I tried chasing her down before she got out into the parking lot. And I did talk to her a little bit and just said, like, I apologize, tried to explain why people dress the way they do, but also let her know, like, people here are they're just people, right? Sometimes they say things, sometimes they mean well and it just comes out wrong. Sometimes they have maybe not a good temperament, right? But that shouldn't be what discourages you from trying to discover truth. And she was appreciative of that, and we talked and everything. But she also said, well, I never want to come to a church where people are going to yell at me for doing something I didn't even know I was doing. Right. So what I try to do, and I hope I'm good at it, I know over the years, and when I first started out, I was kind of crazy. But over the years, what I try is, if somebody obviously has never been here before, just go over and introduce yourself. Don't even comment on the clothes they're wearing. Don't say anything. Just introduce yourself and be friendly, because they are going to learn how to behave, how to dress. Like, they're going to learn all that by exposure.
The customs and traditions.
Yeah, they're going to learn all the customs by exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And by curiosity, when they see, wow, I'm the only woman here wearing blue jeans. I'm the only guy here wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey, right? And if you're friendly to them and they have the opportunity to get to know the faith and get to really see the Mass and see the beauty and just get to know you as a person, they're going to ask you, like, why does everybody dress so nice here? Why does it matter? Doesn't Jesus say, come as you are? Which a lot of people, that's just in their mind. Well, just go as you are. Go, if you wear basketball shorts every day, just go to Mass in basketball shorts. But if you are just come off as very judgmental right off the bat, you're going to push somebody away who doesn't even know that you're trying to come from a good place, if you even are. So, I don't know.
And I mean, that's kind of part of like an overall trend, I think, in the SSPX. It's not even isolated to just like modest dress. I think because the overall idea of the society is, for the correct formation of priests, to do things the way that the church has intended, since its inception, and to just be obedient to that. But I think what it causes sometimes is it can bring people to the SSPX that already kind of have that mindset where you need to be doing things a certain way. If you're not doing them right here, right now, then there's like an issue, in some cases, maybe you're sinning or whatever it is. Like and then sometimes, yeah, go ahead.
So just to your point, it's they're focused too much on the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law. And that's where a lot of people get.
Yeah.
The actual term for it is, I think, legalism, or being legalistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and that's the trend. I just, you commonly see, I wouldn't say it is common per se, but something you definitely see more often in the society. So you're more likely to see those situations where they're going to shame somebody right away for what somebody's wearing. You're just going to find more of those people, unfortunately.
We've had several priests give sermons, or in their sermons, to say, like, if you see somebody not acting right, unless it's like super egregious, okay, you might need to say something, but 99.99% of the time, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but not a big enough deal for you to say. It's not your job. And so they just say, just shut your mouth. And if you're that concerned about it, bring it up to a priest and let him handle it. You know, I think that's the right way to go about it. If something is like horrible, you know, if somebody's walking in, just I don't know, just being super obnoxious, maybe you just say like, hey man, like, you know, we ask, you know, to have this be a place of reverence, you know, but I mean, really, like, how often does something like that happen? You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Usually, if you have a whole church that's quiet and you're the only one talking, you
Yeah.
usually
You clue
shut
in.
up pretty
You,
fast. I'd imagine. Yeah.
you
Like,
clue in.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Joey.
Let me-
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I agree with everything that you said, Sam. Like the best way to influence people is just by bringing them into the fold, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you become the people that you are around the most, you know. Um, and I've seen that happen with people that I know now who weren't Catholic before, now they are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and yeah, it's like you said, just like get to know them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just go say hi, you know, get to know them on some sort of personal level, and then that'll be all the other conversations about, you know, proper attire and everything else as it concerns your faith become that much easier for them to hear from you
Mm-hmm.
once you've connected with them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because they're a person too trying to do right, you know, that they just don't know. Um, so yeah, that's how, like you said, that's how I would approach it. Become their friend, bring them in, make them feel welcome, and eventually they'll adjust to conform to the proper culture. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
They came to the church
Yeah.
for a reason, even if they don't.
Hmm.
Even if they don't totally get it yet, they came for a reason, and you do not want to be the reason they don't come back. Because if you're the
Yeah.
reason you pushed them away from the faith, if they were on the road to the true faith and then you pushed them away,
Hmm.
you're kind of responsible for that. And
Yeah, and you will have to atone for that. You know,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
especially now that there are so many people coming into the church, because every week here in St. Joseph's, new people almost every week. You know. And there have been instances, you know, where they're not totally properly dressed.
mm-hmm,
Um, but again, you know, they're just learning.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
yeah, if you're the reason that they don't come back, that you should feel really bad about that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just not good. It's not good at all.
There's got to be
and I
some
feel
kind
like
of rule.
it's I think it's an important thing like Catholics should know in general, like that, like hey, when you have somebody new, like your initial thing shouldn't be like criticize what they're doing wrong. Instead
Yeah.
address like, hey, I'm glad you're here, like it's good
Hmm.
to have you. And I feel like that's just something I'd want Catholics to be more aware of because it happens in every parish. There's always
Mm-hmm,
a handful of people that feel obligated to uh I don't know what the term is, but basically give their 2 cents
mm-hmm.
on or
Everything.
just to go after so yeah for everything if you will. So
Yeah.
that's just something I wanted to see get you guys' thoughts on, but also just bring more awareness to.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think there's got to be some kind of um, like if you're a new convert, just don't say anything for a while. You know,
Yeah.
just sit back and observe for a while. And to go back to the influencer thing, I think even more so, if you're a new convert, not because you're a bad person, not because you're not smart. Maybe a new convert a lot of times know more about the faith than somebody who doesn't, or somebody who was like raised in it, right? Sorry, slip
Who
there, but
doesn't?
yeah, well,
You're
they do
good.
know more than somebody who
Well,
doesn't know as
obviously
much as
you
them.
should know.
But like, you know, you probably need to be consistently in the faith for, you know, probably at least a year for most people, if not more than that, if not 3 or 4 years before you think you're competent to go start posting about the faith and trying to teach the faith.
Yeah.
You know, because so many times you
Yeah.
hear people who um, they they get so on fire with this like vigor for the faith, um, but they're still new to it. They don't like, and so they can easily mislead unintentionally. Just come in, get your soul right for like a year or two, maybe 3 or 4 years, and then, you can start saying, like, hey man, I don't know if you've noticed, but whatever.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty fair. It's solid. It's good advice.
I mean,
It's really good advice.
I've only been Catholic for over only 3 years now, and I was still trying to sort out a lot of things with my life a year into being Catholic, and all that zeal. I would encourage people who are new converts, put that into helping to develop your parish life.
Mm-hmm.
Be friends with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Young, old, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still don't feel competent or I'm not in a position to be like a catechist or anything close to that now. But yeah, I would just encourage people to develop the parish life, be a part of that.
Be a true
Because
brother.
that,
Yes.
yeah, for sure, because that enriches you just as much as acquiring more knowledge about it,
Mm-hmm.
about the faith,
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, action. Like at the end of the day, your actions speak louder than words. So it's through your example will help people much more than what you have to say. Like
Mm-hmm.
For
you
sure.
can say one thing and do another, but your actions at the end of the day, that's what truly matters.
That's why when somebody finds out you're a hypocrite, they just stop listening to you altogether.
Yeah.
Because you probably don't really believe what you're saying all that strongly if you're being a blatant hypocrite about it.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to use your words. You do have to talk, and you do have to learn. And if somebody asks you a question, you should be in a position that you can answer it. But
Mm-hmm.
Or have the humility to say like, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but I can find it for you. Or I'll get back to you on that.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually what I was just about to say. Yeah, and it's very important that if somebody does ask you, like an important question, or they're new to the faith, or coming to the church for the first time, they ask you that question, and you're not entirely sure, or maybe you kind of know, but I think it would be better to recommend them to somebody who would know or would give them a better answer. Typically, it's just the priest who's in the parish.
100%.
But yeah, I agree. It's a large leap of humility just to say, hey, look, like I don't know exactly the answer. And I think I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think it was today, from Father Ripperger. I don't know if you guys are fans of Father Ripperger, but also since we were kind of recommending like overall, if you're new to the faith, you're new to the traditional mass, what I would recommend also is you don't really need to know everything. Like there's a misconception in traditional circles where, you have to be extremely studied, know the philosophy, the theology of the mass, what every single thing symbolizes in the mass, and you really don't. The great thing about the traditional mass is that it's ordered towards devotion, like naturally. So somebody who sees the mass and they see what is going on, you don't even have to really understand all the symbolism and what is happening, just because it's so ordered toward devotion to God. So really, it's just make sure that you go frequently and regularly to the Latin Mass, and you don't feel like you have to understand everything that's going on. Think about a lot of the saints in the past. Like, they weren't the most learned people. Like, some of them, yes, were great scholars, Thomas Aquinas, people like that. But you also have other great saints that it was just because of their devotion that they ended up, being saved, rather than what they knew. So,
no, that's exactly right.
The Curé of Ars is a great example of that. He wasn't knowledgeable, but he was just a very holy individual. Like he's a great saint. That's a prime example of what Nick's talking about. He has an incredible story.
I was actually in Ars last October. Yeah. It's a really nice area. It's a very they have like a whole setup where you have like all of his relics are just in a one big like hallway in like a glass like a couple glass rooms. I don't know. It's really cool.
That's gotta be so cool.
Yeah, but they say he would convert people by them just looking at him. Like
Wow.
if you're in the same room as him, they would just feel this like strange zeal and this power of the Holy Ghost. I don't know. His story is really incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, Bonnie wants to.
I know, Bonnie. What do you got to
Just-
say about that?
Just set Bonnie up with their own camera.
I know. I need to put her on. Yeah. Or like Joseph Cupertino is another great example. You know, the guy was kind of known for not being smart, and he's a saint. You know, he flew. It's crazy. You know, God
That's
doesn't.
unfortunate. That you're known for not being
right
smart.
over your head.
Yeah. But like, God doesn't ask you to know everything. He asks you to love Him above all things with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. You don't got to know everything. Because there's a lot of things. You could be the most well-studied human being on planet Earth, and you will never comprehend God. You'll never know everything. That's why Thomas quit writing the Summa. He gave up on it. He's like,
Throw it away until
Yeah.
Christ told him that it was pleasing to him.
yeah, he's like, this is nothing. Like, all your work, maybe the greatest work, written in regards to the faith, like, obviously other than like the Bible, but it's
Yeah.
nothing. It's just straw in the wind when you're talking about God. And so be much
And
more
also-
concerned with your interior state. Be much more concerned with developing virtue, and anything you need to know will come on its own time.
And I mean, there are plenty of examples of people that are obsessed with knowledge, or maybe they have so much knowledge that they think like they run into the risk of pride. There's just a whole other temptation that you have towards pride because you do know so much. So it's just a balance, like having a well balanced, spiritual life and knowledgeable life. I guess I don't know what else you would call it.
There's something else to consider.
Exterior life.
The more you know, the more responsible you are. Right?
Yeah.
You'll be judged much more harshly if you spend 12 hours a day studying, and you know every code of canon law, and you know every interpretation of scripture, and you can cite all the Psalms and everything. But if your virtue doesn't come first, you will be judged even more harshly because you should have known better. You knew everything you needed to know, but you didn't act on it. And we're talking about influencers. When you're putting content out there, that's something else you have to consider. Like, you are putting more responsibility upon yourself. And so you really need to be squared away if you're going to be getting into that, like, really seriously. Your culpability is a lot higher because you're affecting everybody around you and those that aren't even around you. And if I were to tell Joey something because I thought it was true, because I thought I was smart and I knew what I was talking about, and then Joey goes on believing something that's totally not true, that's bad enough, but now Joey might go start telling other people. And it just goes on and on. That's how you get heresies and just errors. So just don't, unless you're really squared away. First, on the interior, your virtue, and then everything else after that. Yeah.
Boys, can I recommend a book to y'all? I'm sure y'all have seen it, but maybe someone who's watching hasn't seen it. But it's this one, Full of the Apostolate.
Yeah, I've read that one.
High key, this book changed my life.
I agree.
I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
And that whole book is about, the importance of the interior life as it pertains to ordering the life that, going deeper into the interior life so that your exterior life is also ordered too. But yeah, read that book.
Yeah, I think just to comment on that really quick, Joey, that's really good. Yes, I've read that book too. I think that book does a really good job of like contrasting using real world examples.
Mm,
Like it'd
yeah.
be, it's mostly focused on obviously the priesthood and what it looks like if you have a well developed spiritual life versus if you don't in
Mhm.
practical situations.
Yeah.
And so that's like you said, if you have that well ordered interior life, then it will, exemplify itself in your exterior life or just in your affairs. So yeah,
Mhm.
I
For
would
sure.
also recommend.
It's a book. Um, I always, I, I think is the greatest book for me, other than the Bible, is Imitation of Christ. I'm sure you've all read Imitation of Christ. I know Joey has because we talk about it all the time. But
Yeah.
Yep, I've read it. It's really good.
yeah, I mean, there's a reason that's the second highest selling religious book next to the Bible.
Yeah.
Every time I open that book, it's like talking directly to me, and
Yeah.
and it's kind
That's
of nice
very
because
right.
it's so
Yeah.
digestible. Each chapter is
Mhm.
like 3 paragraphs, but it's
The
just
one
so
that's one
so
that's
packed
very
full.
similar. One that's very similar to that book is My Daily Bread. That one also is really
Mhm.
good.
I don't think
I
I've ever
still read
heard.
that one to this day. It's one of my favorites.
Who wrote that one?
It's just I can't remember the author, but I want to say it was some religious person who wrote it.
Some
But
religious
it's very
person.
similar to Imitation of Christ.
Uh huh.
It's kind of the same.
Uh huh. Yeah. Stick to the classics. You'll be
Yep.
all right.
And honestly, I think just to kind of add to what we're saying, I think one of the most important things in order to obtain that spiritual life is taking some time away for like mental contemplation and meditation,
Mm-hmm.
which honestly I think is what not a lot of Catholics do these days. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a product of American culture, in my opinion, where everything's like super, go go go. It's like hustle culture. You don't really have a lot of time to do anything. So to kind of set yourself apart from all the commotion and the speed of your everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
and setting aside 15-20 minutes for mental contemplation, that meditation, I think is extremely important. And
Mm-hmm.
I've heard countless sermons about it, many different priests talking about the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have my own book.
Very
This
true.
one's The Introduction to Devout Life by
Mm-hmm.
St. Francis of Sales. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
popular one as well. And this also teaches you how to meditate if you don't actually know how, because there is a specific way how, like that, the church teaches, and that people like St. Francis of Sales have taught people, because people just think, okay, you close your eyes and you think about things, but there is like kind of an order to it, and there is a method to it. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
but yeah.
Have y'all ever heard of the Marian Friars Minor? By any chance?
Mm-mm.
It's like a pretty small order. I think.
I feel like you and I have talked about this at some point. I don't remember though.
Really? I don't know. I might have heard about them in the past, but I really started learning about them pretty recently, like in the past week or two. And they have all these conferences they have on Spotify and probably YouTube too. A lot of times when I'm driving, I'll throw one on, and they talk a lot about that in one of their conferences about like mental prayer and just devoting time to prayer in your day. Because a lot of times you'll hear you need to devote at least 15 minutes or so to mental prayer every day, which is totally true. I mean, that's a great start and everything. But his point was like we spend 15 minutes on mental prayer or just prayer in general. If you even spend that, how many people really even do that? Even traditional Catholics, almost nobody I know. Um, but let's say you do. You spend those 15 minutes with God, and then you go to your phone and you scroll Instagram for the next 2 hours, or you put on Fox News or CNN or whatever you're watching for an hour and a half. It's like, is your life really ordered properly if you're spending so much more time to these secular things than you are to developing your spiritual life? Giving to God. What good comes out of that? I don't think any. I think it basically negates everything you're doing. Sorry, Bonnie is whining in the background. I don't know if you can hear her or not.
It's okay. I forgive her.
Thank you. I'll let her know.
You're done, buddy. You're dead to me. Okay. Was there any other parts of the Christian influencers you wanted to touch up on, or do we cover, or did you guys cover most of everything on that subject?
Wait, on which
I'm
subject?
good. I'm
Yeah.
good.
I think we kind of
We
moved
were
on, but yeah, Nick wasn't part of it, so
Yeah. It was initially we were talking about Christian influencers and whether it was the is that a good thing or the good and bad parts
Hmm.
of or what good things can come from it and the bad parts of it. So we
Yeah,
had
I think
already
I
kind of
yeah I caught the latter end of your conversation. I mean, I can just give my 2 cents real quick.
go for it.
sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem is not only like there are Catholic influencers as well. I've seen the uptick on Catholic YouTubers as well, but I mean, I guess that's what we are, so I'm not going to hate on that. But yeah,
No criticism here.
yeah, yeah, that's a good thing right there.
We're the
Very
best
good thing.
ones. We're the
Yeah,
only ones
yeah.
doing it right.
Yeah,
Based-
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I was kind of thinking about the strange uptick in like influencer priests. I don't know if you guys talked about that specifically, or
Yeah,
You did?
briefly.
A little
We
bit,
touched
yeah.
up on it, yeah.
yeah, because I mean, and if any of you guys know, or anybody who's watching knows Kennedy Hall,
Hmm.
he has a really good video on influencer priests and the issue there. I mean, I don't know if this is kind of just like a smaller issue that maybe doesn't deserve as much of attention because maybe it's more niche.
Hmm.
But regardless, I do think people commodifying the faith for the sake of their own,
Hmm.
I guess, pride in a way is very very strange to me. I think, I mean, overall, it's kind of a trend more towards like modernism in the church because I mean, you guys know that modernism is rampant in the church and even throughout the priesthood. And I think this is kind of like a manifestation of that, where it's creeped into where priests are giving their like, oh, a day in the life of a priest, but it's not like, oh, here's where I read my breviary and like all these different things. And here's where I say divine office. It's, oh, here's my daily workout. And let me film myself while I'm going in the gym and going through my full workout.
It kind of turns into like a blog of everything you do.
Yeah, yeah,
It's almost a joke.
and yeah, and Kennedy Hall puts it really well, where it's kind of like it's blurring the line between the sacred and the secular.
Hmm.
It's adopting worldly trends, and even then, just think of the history of the scandal in the church. Is it really appropriate, especially for these younger priests, where you can tell based on how they're, how they're putting thumbnails in these videos. They are kind of marketing themselves in certain instances of like being like more attractive young men, and being a priest. It's very odd. It's just very strange, and with the context of scandal in the church as well, is it the best idea for a priest to be marketing himself in those circles, and also them filming themselves engaging in more secular modern activities with other modern Catholics?
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's just all part of the overall denigration, I think, of the sacred
Hmm.
in general. Like people just not really having that fear of God and respect for the sacred.
Hmm.
Well, yeah,
Overall reverence.
the sacredness of the hidden life. Yeah, because it's
Mhm.
not priests don't you don't go out. They're not out there bragging and stuff like that, or show that. Let's everything is done in a spirit of silence, and it's all done for God and God alone,
Mhm.
rather than like, hey, I'm taking a video of myself, like, hey guys, look at me. I'm explaining. Yeah, because the religious life is all about God. It's about giving yourself up, giving up your ego,
Mhm.
all your want. Everything goes. It's all for Him specifically. So
Mhm.
to your point, yeah, it's like if I'm on social media, yeah, it is all about me and views and getting attention and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I think Nick nailed that pretty good actually.
Hmm.
It's a pretty good take.
There's got to be more nuance in an online presence. There's got to be a huge distinction because something we were saying earlier, Nick. I don't know if you were on yet. It's like lay people don't really have the right to go out and preach the way a priest can or teach the way a priest. It's like they're responsible to do that. It's their job. And so, in some sense, they might be the only people who really have the right as Catholics to go out and do that. But that doesn't mean you have to be an influencer to do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like just go on there if you have to. If that's like, I don't know how you do your apostolate, okay. But I don't know. I don't think anybody ever needs to see a priest in the weight room. They should still
Yeah.
go do that. Like they
Well,
need to do
actually,
that, but you don't need to film it. There's really no reason you would do that other than vanity, in my opinion.
yeah.
But because
No, one
it's like
idea.
making them seem like they're normal
Okay.
people, but they're not normal people. They have a higher dignity. Sorry, Tony, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good. One thought I did have though, and one thing I did kind of like, so this was back during COVID, is some of the priests in the society would give like I don't know sermons, if you will, like private sermons where they're talking about a specific subject or whatever. I think those are very helpful because like it's talking about a specific thing. So it's like, hey, what about like it could have been
Mm-hmm.
a conversation like a sermon on marriage or a sermon on spiritual life, something like that. Like I feel like if you did like sermons or that sort of where it's kind of like that, where it's solely focused on a certain topic or whatever, I feel like those are very beneficial just because it's one thing. It's focusing on one thing rather than 50 things at the same time. So it's like, hey, what's like a Catholic's view on marriage or just something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I one thing I will say like during COVID they had those some of them like 6, 10 minute videos. They were kind of like sermons where a priest was talking about certain
Mm-hmm.
certain topics or whatever. I actually really liked. I thought those were actually pretty beneficial, and it wasn't like an influencer kind of like it doesn't give you that vibe. It's very instruction, more so for instruction
Mm-hmm.
rather than hey look at me guys. Like it wasn't set up that way. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say if they were gonna do it, if they were gonna do videos, it'd be something along the lines more of those than
Mm-hmm.
like your typical modern day influencers would do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought
and
they
I
were
was gonna
helpful.
yeah, and I was gonna say that there is a distinction between like an influencer and just somebody who does post videos on the internet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen some of these priests. They talk about, oh, I need to upload on Instagram, on TikTok, on, you know, I mean, honestly, no Catholic should be on TikTok in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's just my opinion. But
Maybe
yeah,
social
but
media.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, social media in general, dude. I'll tell you, I never saw as much advancement in my just in my faith and my spiritual life after I quit all social media.
Mm-hmm.
That I banned them on my phone, like I'm not able to use them. I mean, you kind of feel like free in a way because
You
you were talking,
do.
Sam. You were talking earlier about like people scrolling on, whatever TikTok, Twitter, X now, whatever,
Yeah.
for hours after they do their 15-minute meditation, and it's just because I think social media fosters like a dopamine addiction,
It
and
does. It
society
does.
in general has like has issues with dopamine addiction where it's just instant gratification. It's right there on my phone. I can just see a few videos that'll give me a quick spike of dopamine. It's like a drug.
Mm-hmm.
So and then it affects the rest of your
and then it
everyday
becomes
life because you
a
don't have
dopamine deficiency.
exactly. And then your brain is like, oh, like in your daily
You need
life, if you're
more.
not using it, you're like, oh, your brain's thinking, what's going on? I don't have my regular dopamine. I can't get it from these other
Yeah,
aspects of my life. So now I have to just keep scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because it eventually just leads to you always needing more and more,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and you'll never be fully satisfied. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that you
And
can make that's the same reason with like porn.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
yeah.
it's so bad because it's like it reaches a level and then it's just like oh it's not enough,
Mm-hmm.
so they want to keep going farther and farther into it, and it just it's very damaging.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like to build on that, Nick. That's not even accounting for. Yeah, I mean that's just scrolling and just the dopamine. That's not even if you see anything bad, but you know how easy it is for something just to pop up if you spend any amount of time on social media, like
hmm
any amount of time whatsoever. You are constantly weakening yourself. The first time you might be able to click out of it and say, okay, like no, second time, third time, whatever. But like every time you see it and you don't just cut it off altogether, just delete the app, you are weakening yourself. And I would find it very rare, very unlikely that anybody who does it, who spends more than, I don't know, like 30 minutes, even maybe an hour, I don't know, on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, doesn't also have some kind of addiction to like looking at porn, because it's just so prevalent there. You know what I mean? You're already so weak because you can't even close the app. You know, when you do see a really attractive person, you've weakened yourself at that point to go one step further, and then another step and another step. You know, the best way, cut it all off. You know, if you have to have it, if you just can't live life without it for whatever reason, at least don't have it on your phone. At least put a restriction so you only get access for 10 or 15 minutes max a day. You know, that'll at least restrict you enough to help a little bit. Sorry, Bonnie's distracting me. Let me turn off my mic.
Yeah, I mean that's the hard part too. Is look, social media has a lot of good to it as well. I mean, just think about how many souls have been saved too, with maybe somebody who wasn't exposed to loud mass, or maybe you don't, I don't know, like some of these groups online, or connecting with other traditional Catholics on social media, things like that. There is a lot of good that can come out of it, but I just think it's even an issue within traditional circles. I think a lot of traditional Catholics as well overconsume social media, and they don't see it for the occasion of sin and the temptation that it is. And I don't even know if enough priests are talking about that right now.
Well, so we've had, I know back in St. Mary's, they've had a few at least once or twice a year, they bring up the subject of like, hey, like you need to be more prudent when it comes to things on the internet, especially around kids. I mean, as kids, they're very curious, and it's very easy for them to get access. And a big problem that is too. It's like parents are giving their 6-year-olds tablets and phones already at such an early age, and so it's
Yeah,
like you're already
seriously.
predisposing them to already be like you'll see, for example, like if you're on your phone and for example, like I have a lot of nieces and nephews. It's like if you're checking something on your phone, at like 2 seconds, they're already looking over your shoulder, like, "Ooh, what's that?" And
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's already such a magnet, and it's worse when you're a kid just because of how curious you are at that age.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a big problem when parents like, oh, here, take this, like, because a lot of parents too just don't want to be parents either. It's like, oh, I don't have time to play with a kid or whatever. It's like, here's a phone, go distract them and do while you're doing other stuff when you should be spending time with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge. That's where initially where it starts. I imagine is at a young age. It's like, hey, if you can't teach your kid from a young age, like, hey, how to use the internet and all that stuff, it's going to lead to a bigger problem when you're an adult, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be so much easier to fall into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're seeing a generation of iPad babies, is what they're called. I guess there's going to be a whole generation
Oh
of
yeah,
people that,
there's a.
yeah,
It's
that are
actually
going
kind of
to.
scary. I can't remember the artist's name, but he kind of like how everyone's just like wherever you go. Like I notice this. I'll do this too sometimes where I go out to like a. It's like I go to a Subway or something for lunch, and just like if there's like 7 or 8 people in line, just look at them and just notice everyone's on their phone. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's
Every
looking
single
up,
person.
and everybody is just. And so there was this artist who I can't remember what he called it. Basically, he had a collage of pictures of people that were on their phones, and what he did was he erased the iPhone, so it just shows this person staring at nothing, and it's like such a it captures that moment because like literally that's what it is. Like your phone, it really is nothing other than just a distraction, and it's just like a soul sucking device that you're just like hot like it's like a ball and chain, like you're just constantly chained to this distraction that's in your hand or in your pocket. And so yeah, the whole concept was the point of the picture of him erasing the camera from the photo was to just like this is how ridiculous you look when you're always looking at your phone all the
Mhm.
time. It's just it was a very interesting take, which oh yeah, it's very true though. It's just you spend so much time on your phone, and if you're always looking down at your phone too, you're not engaging with people or the things around you. It's just yeah, it's very self-centered, very selfish, and you're not like you said, you should be engaging with those people around you, but you're not going to do that when you're constantly glued to your phone.
Mhm. It causes you to be influenced almost exclusively by people you don't even know. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you spend all your time on your phone, seeing the news, seeing everything that's bad in the world, and everybody having their own opinions on it and everything, it's very easy to detach yourself from reality. Where if you, I mean, go to church or a restaurant or something, just don't even bring your phone and talk to people, and it really normalizes the world. I think it's really good for your mental health just to not constantly be inundated by things and people that you don't know about, you don't know, has nothing to do with you. Just go live in your community, make friends. It's easy to do if you just leave your phone at home or leave it in the truck or
Yeah,
something like that.
that's always a big one, especially when you have a group of buddies you want to go out to dinner with or something, and everyone has to be on their phones. It's like
Hmm.
that sort of stuff just drives me nuts.
It's insane.
It's like hey, can we take 20, 30 minutes out of our day? Hey, let's just talk, without any distractions or constantly needing a phone. Like that is a big issue for me. That really bugs me when you can't sit down with some friends and just have a good conversation, enjoy
Hmm.
some good food.
It's kind of
Well,
sad.
apparently there's. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it makes you feel like you don't really have friends. That's all.
True.
Well, there's a growing movement actually for I don't know if you guys have heard of minimalist phones.
Hmm. Like the
Where I
light
think there's
phones.
a growing market where it's still like a phone, a smartphone per se, because I think unfortunately in our day and age you kind of do have to have a smartphone. There's a lot of different functions that are required either for your work, for your life, whatever it is.
Hmm.
But there are options out there that I think is a growing market. And I think the phone thing, even in the past 5 years, I think it's gotten a little bit better, at least from what I've seen, and the amount of people that use their smartphones just all the time.
Hmm.
But there are options out there just for people who are listening. If you want, if you know that you still have to have a smartphone for whatever reason or for your job, there are options. Just look up like minimalist phones, and it still functions as a smartphone, but it doesn't. You can't download all the other apps, and like you can't download social media. It has like pre-installed apps on it, and it has all the vital functions you would need in a smartphone, but it
Hmm.
doesn't even allow you the temptation to download certain apps that would not be good for you, be distracting, or so on and so forth. So
A,
just thought I'd throw that out there.
a lot of
That's
times
good.
nowadays, it seems like if you need a phone for work, for whatever reason, a lot of times a company would provide it. You have a work phone.
That is true.
In
Yeah.
which case, just get a flip phone, man.
Hmm.
Really, just get a flip phone. Like needing it for work is just such an excuse for most people when they hardly ever use it for work, anyways. You know.
Yeah, honestly, the virtue you would get out of that leap and that level of mortification, like if you are really attached to your phone and you give it up to go to a smartphone, like that is a significant amount, of mortification that you're showing,
Hmm.
and you're giving up something that a lot of people would never give up, and it can completely change your life. So,
That alone is an act
I'm
of
gonna be
humility.
honest. I'm gonna be honest, man. I'd be so lost without Google Maps.
I know. Yeah, me too.
Trying to
Me too,
navigate
man.
this. No, I get the sentiment though. It's for sure like you said, Nick. It would be a huge, and it'd be not only that, it would be a massive blessing too if they weren't required. But the thing is, with the smartphones, is you have access to everything you could ever want, really, and it's like that's why it's so addicting. It's like oh, I can, like, if you want to watch something like a video on something specific, yeah, I can just look it up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's so addicting because, like you said, you have everything at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you just had a flip phone, I mean, you can text not as easy as a smartphone, but typically you're just going to be doing phone calls and that's it. Which, in general, as a general rule, it's like talking to someone on the phone is way more personable than
Mm-hmm.
texting them, anyways, because it's just, I think it means more.
Mm-hmm.
Another part of the problem is the fact that everyone has AI apps in their phone now.
Mm-hmm.
That's another issue entirely. People do not critically think anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are addicted to
Mm-hmm.
AI now. They will use ChatGPT for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Well,
a whole other problem.
yeah, because you're not using your thinking brain anymore. You have something that can think for you. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
basically, and that the danger of that is you become so reliant on AI, you can't think through a process on your own. Which that's kind of the whole thing. Sam, we had to talk about this, but it kind of leads to uh, I forget what the term is, but basically where over time, so I can't remember what the term was. It had something to do with so for example, like take McDonald's. It used to be like really colorful, very replacement theory.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was called. So basically, how McDonald's used to be really like a really vibrant colored place. Like it had playgrounds, Ronald McDonald back in the older days, and now it's just like a gray box with some
Mm-hmm.
yellow running across the top or whatever. And that's so my point was with that is like they're slowly replacing all like the good things we had. And to Nick's point, the AI is the reason people use it now is just making people more reliable or making people to rely more on AI than them being able to think for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's and another thing for that too was somewhere along the roads like they want to make electric vehicles so everybody has one so people don't have to drive anymore. And basically, that takes away your freedom to drive yourself wherever you want to go versus,
That's a good
oh,
point.
you can only go into this car at this particular time and it'll bring you to this place.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken away your freedom in the sense of like choosing to do it on your own versus having to do it. So eventually you're losing control
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have you it's basically making it so you don't have a choice to do it anymore. You have to. And you just become part of the system, a cog in the system, if you will.
That was a big part of. I know it's kind of controversial and a little bit edgy, but Ted Kaczynski, it was a big part of his whole like thought. It was like these things that temporally give you more freedom, or at least on the surface give you more freedom. It really just constrains you. It used to be the idea is if you had a car, you could go further places, so you have more freedom. But now you almost need a car to get anywhere in town. You know, Nick, you could probably speak to it, but how many places can you go to in Houston without a car? So you need a
Zero.
car now. So if you don't,
It takes 15, 20 minutes just to go to the grocery store, man.
So really, that idea that it gives you more freedom, it actually takes away your freedom. And AI, like, it should give you more freedom because you have more access to information. But really, what it does is it dumbs you down. It makes you so reliant on AI. Not just you can't think through things, people don't even know how to do research anymore. People don't know how to pick up a book and read anymore. I mean, they can like physically read, but they don't get anything from it anymore. And so, in some way, it should give you more freedom. It completely takes it away, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, that
By
makes
the way,
sense.
for those that don't know, Ted Kaczynski. How do you say his name? Ted Kaczynski.
I think it's Kaczynski. I don't know. Not a good guy, okay? I'm not endorsing the guy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, for those who don't know, he's the Unabomber. He came out with that Unabomber, I think. Yeah, he came out with the manifesto where he in like the late 70s,
something like that.
Where he said he was talking about how technology is going to destroy us all, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I throw that out
Not
there.
not a good
too
guy,
far-
but
not
on
too
this
far
topic,
off.
he wasn't
Yeah,
very
yeah.
wrong. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to
Yeah.
get into some
Well,
conspiracies,
he was right about that.
yeah, no, he really
I mean,
was.
Yeah,
Like,
he's right about a lot of
just
things.
look how far the technology has already advanced, even just the last 100 years.
that's the scary thing is that he was right on so much, and then he took a crazy turn, and his solution was, well, I guess we should start killing people.
He identified the problem, did not identify the
He
solution.
did not identify a good solution at all.
He
Yeah.
he created the problem, then he
Mhm.
left. No,
Yeah, well, he definitely created some problems. Yeah, but no, there's a lot of conspiracies about that guy too, because I think he was in one of the mind control experiments, like MK Ultra or something like that, and some people say it fried his brain. I don't know. If you're into conspiracies, it's an interesting one to go down the rabbit hole.
he
but
wasn't wearing his tinfoil cap.
He was not. He was not. He would have been safe, but he wasn't.
He wouldn't say from all of them.
I don't necessarily encourage going down conspiracy rabbit holes either, though. Again, it just gets into the whole, what are you doing with your life? You know?
It's like, do you really need to look into this? Like, is this going to affect, how you live your daily life?
Yeah. Is it
If you're
gonna?
a good Catholic, like, probably not.
Okay, but hear me out.
Epstein.
9/11 was an inside job.
Could have been, bro.
Oh.
Could have been.
Yeah.
I
Now
want
this
to
now
know
this video
what
is getting
happened
taken
there.
down. Video's getting taken down
But we
immediately.
can't post this up.
Look, I have
They're
no
just gonna
doubt.
cut out. They're gonna cut out this segment right here. Just
I have no doubt that a lot of those conspiracies are true, and they are somewhat of a guilty pleasure. It is kind of fun to go down and be like, oh, what really happened?
I
and
think
everything.
it's fun to like the concept and just being thought. Yeah, it's fun to theorize about it for sure.
Yeah,
But like you said, not to a point where it just pulls you down far, like where you have to question everything.
it'll just lead you to
Because
despair, man. It'll take you to
Well,
hell.
people do that with the faith too. Like I have people I'm related to that are like they look so far and read into everything way too much, and they think it's like, oh, the society's wrong on this regards, or the mass isn't truly the mass, and it's just like you guys went so far down the rabbit hole where you start questioning everything, and it's just like at some point it's like if you're just gonna keep saying like, oh, everything's wrong and you guys don't like, but who makes you the authority to say what you guys say is true?
Mhm.
So yeah, I can that was a little bit of a rabbit hole that direction. But that's kind of my point. It's like you go so far to where you have to question everything.
Mhm.
Right. Quick question. Do you think that, like, in the spirit of conspiracy theories, do you think, like, sedevacantism is like a conspiracy theory of Catholicism? Or can you think of it that way? Where it's like, oh, the Holy See, the seat of Peter has been vacant since Pope Pius XII, like things like that. Is that, I don't know. Is that kind of like in the spirit of like conspiracy theories?
That's not very
I
charitable.
think you could think of it that way.
Huh? Yeah, I was saying you can think of it that way.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little harder because when I think of conspiracy theory, like in the church, I would think of more the St. Gallen Mafia, whereas the sedevacantist position, I think you could think of it like a conspiracy, but it's more of like a.
Well, it's more than questioning.
I don't even know how to explain it.
A legitimacy of the papal seat,
Yeah.
But I mean, to go as
there-
far as to say that it's been vacant, I feel like takes a whole other step.
Well, it would be a conspiracy if they were to say like, this pope worked together with another pope to, destroy the church. Like that's a conspiracy. Just like I think by definition, I think it's something like two or more people working together to commit a crime.
So like the Freemasons.
Yeah, like the Freemasons would be a
the Catholic
conspiracy.
Church.
I'm so intelligent. I had to look up the definition. I just want to clarify. So what it says for conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful.
Mm.
Okay, so it doesn't really apply then.
But I guess it depends because there are definitely at least some groups of sedevacantists who do believe that it's vacant because of a conspiracy. And so I guess in that way. But if your proposition is that because, pick your pope is a heretic, he's no longer the pope, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a conspiracy. That's just an opinion based on something they did. Does that make sense or no?
That makes sense. Yeah, I think conspiracies often deal with a certain level of esoteric knowledge, and I don't know. I'm not sure whether or not the topic of whether there is a pope or not pertains to that. I think there are aspects of it that is, secret, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was just wondering if you could think of it that way. I guess it's not that important if you do or you don't. But.
I will say, in my experience, they tend to be more inclined towards conspiracies. So there's that.
Mhm. It attracts a certain kind of person for sure.
Definitely. So there's definitely a relationship there. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's great for all the.
We've been going for about an hour and a half. I don't know if y'all got to get going or not, but
I mean, I've only been doing an hour, so
that's true.
I can do another half.
I don't know about you guys.
We can do another half hour. I don't mind.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, this is a good one so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were about to get into the rabbit hole of sedevacantism, then.
All right,
Let's go down this rabbit hole, shall we?
All right, Nick. When did you become a sedevacantist?
So it all started when I was born, and I just knew.
From
It just doesn't exist. It's an illusion. I knew it.
Nick is not a sedevacantist, everybody. That's just a joke.
Yeah, don't slander.
Yeah.
Not
Just
yet.
kidding.
Not until he sees the hidden truth.
Just like Sam hasn't been Catholic his whole life.
Yeah.
No,
that's good.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, and there's just so much disunity with the sedevacantist position. I mean, you have probably 100 different types of sedevacantist. If you ask 10 sedevacantists their opinion on who was the last pope, you're going to get 10 different answers for 10 different reasons. And that really just seems like the gates of hell would have prevailed. If that was the case, if you don't even know, if nobody knows when the last pope was or why they were the pope or weren't the pope, at that point there becomes so much confusion and so much disorder, and there's no way to resolve it because there's no cardinals, so how do you get a new pope? It just doesn't seem to be very sound.
It's funny you mention that because one of my friends I went to school with he said of a contest, and yeah, it's that exact same argument. It's like, thou art Peter and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. It's like, I was like, what was our Lord just lying to Saint Peter? But I couldn't answer that question, or they can't give you a straight answer on that too.
I've actually talked to sedevacantists. I have before on a few occasions, and they don't see in principle the Pope as being the entire church. They see like the universal church as all of its clergy and its members. Mm-hmm. So their main thing is, okay, the church still exists and it is not, the gates of hell have not prevailed. But the problem is that they kind of become their own canon lawyers in a way, and then they eventually say, okay, the Pope has effectively excommunicated himself because he's pushed this, and this heresy. Point. But no, just one last part I was going to say. When the argument against that is that we as lay people cannot make that determination. Like, even if a Pope says something that is heretical, you still there is a requirement of obedience from every faithful, every Catholic. To a degree where you cannot yourself make that determination. That would have to be some other entity or body in the church. be it however that works. Excuse me.
And
Be
not
it however
not
that works,
obedient,
but
not obedient to the heresy, but you still
but
have an
obedient to
obedience
the
to the Pope himself.
yeah,
And
but just it as the office,
yeah,
like be obedient to the office, even if he says something that is wrong, that contradicts previous popes, what the church has always taught, the doctrine of the church. This has happened many times,
So
but that
his
doesn't
argument
instantly vacate them.
his argument was if the cope or sorry if the cope wow he's coping hard. No, that's what he said. If the Pope says like say he says some heretical things
hmm
or whatever, he's like then he's no longer like he should be excommunicated, if you will. Or his other thought is like, well, if the Pope's not practicing his Catholic faith, then he's no longer Catholic, which is like, no, you're still a like the term like there's fallen away Catholic, like you still are Catholic, just because even though you're not, let's just say you're not practicing, but there he firmly believed that like, oh, if you're not practicing your Catholic faith, you're no longer Catholic. Like in spirit, yes, he's correct, but like you have that indelible mark on your soul,
hmm
you will never lose that. But it's like you still are Catholic, you're just not practicing it. But in his view, it's like, oh, once you stop practicing your faith, you're no longer Catholic, and it's
hmm
just like, no, that's not how it works. But that was one of the things he brought up, and that was yeah, like you said, it's very hard to convince him of that.
For me, it's always been I understand at least to a degree of where they're coming from because there is a lot of confusion in the church, a super confusing time. One day the Pope says something that sounds like it might be somewhat heretical, and then the next day is like super orthodox again, and then it's just like what is even happening? Um, and we've had really bad popes in the past. Like really really bad ones, and we've had periods of sedevacant in the past. But there always has to be a way to resolve that at some point because having a pontifex is a critical part of being Catholic. And so, while for various periods of time you might have an anti-pope or you may have no pope, there has to be a
Or three
mechanism,
popes at the same time.
or yeah, there has to be some mechanism in which a pope he becomes a pope, again. And if your contention is that, well, we just can't have a pope again, which not all sedevacantists believe that, but some do, is like, well, there's no cardinals to vote on it, so there's nobody to change the law on cardinals voting, and so that just is what it is. There's no more popes. You inherently lose a very important part of being Catholic. Like one of the most pivotal pieces of being Catholic. The literal rock that the church is built on. And so maybe if somebody could propose a way that is undeniably this is how a new pope would come in and hold the office, okay, maybe you can somewhat entertain that idea.
But that's where they all disagree on
And
is
that's where
when the Pope
every
is no longer.
yep.
Yeah, that's where the problem lies. It's like because Tom, I guarantee you, back when there was three popes at the same time, like you could argue back then, like, oh, all of them were illegitimate. Like they would say that,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously, and that's the crazy part is there were three popes, but there were saints on all three sides too. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
just like there's just yeah, there was a lot of confusion during that time, and I can like that's something they brought up, but it's just like no, but it's like eventually that cleared up, and it went back to having one pope. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's always gonna be a pope to the end of time,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so yeah, that's the biggest problem though is they can't officially agree when the seat has been empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
'cause some say Pius XII was last pope. You some say that Pius XII wasn't even ever pope. Some say it was John the 23rd, and some say it was Paul the Sixth. That Paul the Sixth became pope, but then he lost the papacy, or whatever. I don't know if you can't find any unity there at all.
it's hard to back up that claim.
It's kind of hard, yeah.
therein lies the problem of you making that determination yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you as a layperson, who are you to make this determination?
Well,
So then
that's
you
the
end up
question
with
I asked him. I was
all
like,
these different groups of people that think all these different things.
basically, I told him, I was like, okay, I was like, I mean, I was like, first of all, that's a very serious accusation to say the Pope isn't the
Mm-hmm.
Pope, because here's the thing. It's like you're questioning all the cardinals and all the bishops that elected him to be Pope in the first place. It's like, are you going to question every single one of if they're actually real cardinals or real bishops to begin
Mm-hmm.
with? It's like you'd have to go back to where it all started and basically retrace the steps from the very beginning to where it is now. It's like I was like, you can't just say, I was like, you can't just say that the Pope's not the Pope because, like, in order to say that, you have that's saying that the Cardinals are not the Cardinals and bishops aren't because they're the ones who vote him in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another part where they cannot, you can't argue that point.
I
It's like,
did.
do you have definitive proof that they are not Cardinals or bishops to vote
Mm-hmm.
him in? You know?
I did hear one guy, and he was saying, well, you know, the best theory is that all the all the bishops of the church, since there's no more cardinals, all the bishops of the church, which wouldn't be the bishops of the Novus Ordo, but just the bishops that were set of a contest, they could get together and they could vote on the Pope because there's no cardinals. And it's like, okay, sure. Let's say you could do that. Let's say you could do that. First of all, practically, how do you get them all together? Second of all, maybe even more practically, how do you even know who's a valid bishop in the first place? Because a lot of them are Tukline bishops, and you know some of them might be valid, but there is some concern for those consecrations, the Tukline bishops, you know, and so now you're saying bishops who aren't even 100%, like we can't be 100% confident that they're even bishops. They have more say than these other ones who, you know, never seemed to. Um, I don't know. It's just like if you don't believe that the Cardinals can vote, why would somebody whose consecration is questionable in the first place? And I'm not saying all Tukline bishops are not bishops. Like they might be
Yeah.
valid, but you know, illicit
That's
or
a valid
whatever.
question, though.
Because then,
It's a very valid.
you know, what about the what is the one group, the Palmarians, right? Like, um, I think I think the Palmarians are Tukline, but they have like 200 bishops or something like that, you know, and like 3 priests. It's insane. But if that's all that's required, like why can't they vote? Do you really want them voting? You know, where do you draw the line? There's so many more practical problems, you know. Yeah. It's a wild world we live in. That's all I can say about that.
Honestly, they're just kind of denying the principle of, I think the seat of Peter,
Mm-hmm.
just how it's determined. Like you guys were saying, it kind of reminds me. It's like reminiscent of like all the different Protestant sects that are out there
Mm-hmm.
because they cannot agree on stable universal principles, and that's what the church is supposed to provide. It's supposed to provide those universal principles. And so when nobody can agree and you have all of these lay people that are, determining, I mean, they make the argument that the ultimate universal principle is the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of run into the same issue. But I don't know, it's kind of like that, just all of the different groups that have developed around the idea of sedevacantism, because there are a lot of different ones. It's kind of reminiscent of Protestantism in a way.
Mm-hmm.
How over the centuries, just so many different groups have come out of that movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's going to get worse, if more people are going to break off. It's just, or into their own groups. I don't know what's going to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Protestants, they keep breaking off and going into more and more groups because they can't even agree
Mm-hmm.
amongst themselves.
that's what I'm saying. That was my yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it's weird because sedevacantists oftentimes are either the most intelligent Catholics you'll ever meet, or they're absolutely insane, or both at the same time. You know,
Insanely smart.
yeah, I mean, but
And,
you can read yourself into hell too. You
and
know,
honestly, like the people you talk to every day, you don't even know. Like I've had people at my parish before, and I'm just kind of talking to them, and then they just casually mention, like, "Oh yeah, I used to go to this church, and like that church is a known set of a contest church," and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, like, are you?" And I'll kind of indirectly ask because I don't want to like directly ask, like, "Oh, are you this set of contest?" But they're like so casual about it. They're like, "Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been no pope since Pope Pius XII." I've had like somebody just casually mention that, and they've been going to the church for a while, and I'm like,
bro.
"What the heck? I did not know that you were that you thought this." I was like,
Yeah,
"Man,
Yeah, that's
it's
crazy.
not good."
and that's not just a problem. Well, it doesn't it doesn't seem like there's a ton of people who go to SSPX churches who are like that, but
There's some.
there's definitely some. But I
Yeah.
don't think it's more than other traditional groups. I one
Yeah, I don't
time
think so.
I was traveling for work one time, and there's no SSPX church, and I ended up going to an institute church for mass that week. And I had gotten into a conversation with a guy. You know, he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, never seen you around here before." You know, and just got to talking to him, and he said he was a set of a contest. You know, but only since Francis. So Francis was the first anti-pope. You know, according to him.
Here's the last straw.
Yeah, he was the last straw. I was trying to get to him. I was like, "What is your reasoning? Like, why Francis being the last one?" You know, but I guess he said like Benedict never resigned or something like that. But I'm just bringing it up to say I've even met people who go to the. This is really crazy. I've met people who go to the Novus Ordo Mass almost exclusively. Like they'll almost never go to a Latin Mass who are set of a consist. It's like, bro,
Can't say I've seen that before.
like what's your
Bro.
logic there? You know, I mean, most of the people I've met, which has not been very many, just a couple, or like one family that I can think of. Um, to them, it was like, well, all the popes, and then Francis lost the papacy or something like that. But yeah, it's
Just
just weird,
the
man.
amount of pride that you have to have, in my opinion, to just like decide that for yourself. I know I keep like saying the same thing, but like how? This how can you make that kind of determination?
Yeah.
Like I would just think that's so beyond me. Like I'm not a canon lawyer. I don't know any of this stuff.
hmm
I'm just gonna keep doing what I know I'm supposed to do, and not think about it too much.
The only kind of set of a contest that I can somewhat respect on like that level. I mean, I respect them as people, but I just mean like their ideas. Is the I think they call it set of provisionism, which is basically that. It's like, well, we don't really know who's the pope, and it's above our pay grade. Times are too confusing, so someday it'll get worked out, but we're in no position to figure that out. Like we cannot. And
So do
that
they believe it's empty, or just the possibility that it is empty,
I think I think most
or the
say
seat? Yeah.
I don't know exactly, to be honest.
Isn't it mostly like it's like there's going to be no more popes?
Well,
Isn't that typically their line of thinking? Or
maybe I'm wrong on this, but I thought the set of proficionists were practical set of contests. You know, they'll say like, you know, we don't see, you know, Pope Leo as the Pope, but it's because times are so confusing, and someday it'll have to get worked out, but we can't figure that out. Like we'll never know. So maybe I'm wrong, but
Oh,
if
it's this says that set of provisionists believe the current popes are materially but not formally popes and could become valid if they renounce their perceived errors. So it's like I guess illicit versus licit. That
okay.
they're still a valid pope, but like they're illicitly the pope or something because of their heresy. I don't know.
That's confusing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Again, it just
Above my
gets
pay
like
grade.
so
Above
much.
my spiritual pay grade.
Yeah,
yeah,
way
above
above.
my understanding.
No, me, I understand it perfectly, but I'm having trouble explaining it to you plebeians, But
Hmm.
you know,
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding,
You
guys.
low life, you peasants.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Just I'd say stay away from it because you're going to despair. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than despair. So.
all right. So now we have to move on to the next traditional Catholic group, and then we'll go to the next one and the next one.
Oh yeah. Well, what's the next one, Nick?
All right. So Institute Christ King history. Sam, go.
They're an Ecclesia Dei community. They say the Latin Mass, and to be honest, they probably have the most beautiful liturgies. Just, just being honest, like
Do they do pre 55?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe they do pre-55 Holy Week. Um, but they, at least in principle, are okay with the Novus Ordo. You know, individual priests may not like it or may say you shouldn't go or whatever. But I think as a whole, they're kind of like the fraternity. We're not going to condemn the Novus Ordo in general. Um, but yeah, I think
Primary difference then between the fraternity and the institute.
I think the primary difference is the way they do the liturgy. Like there's a few. Um,
Are they still under the bishop, like the diocesan bishops?
yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I think so. But like they wear a lot of blue, so the altar servers usually wear blue rather than black cassocks. Um, and they do the pre-55, which I think the fraternity gets permission to do the pre-55 Holy Week, at least on occasion. But I think in general, they do the, what was that,
62?
62. Yeah, 62 Holy Week. Whereas I think the Institute pretty much always exclusively does the pre-55 Holy Week. But the main problem for somebody who's SSPX, Lefebvre minded, is that they think what Lefebvre did was wrong, and that there's no problem with the Novus Ordo in principle, which we kind of disagree with. Actually, pretty strongly disagree with. Yeah.
You know, I've never been to a pre 55 Holy Week. Have you?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, apparently they read a lot more prophecies. Like if think about just the Vigil Mass for Easter, you'll be there for like hours, or at least it's very long because they read a lot more prophecies than the 62 Holy Week. That's like one of the most notable things that I've heard of. But I don't know. We don't have to get into that.
No, I heard it was almost 2 hours of just prophecies.
Something like that.
It's like insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty awesome.
I think it's sung too. So like the priest is like
and
going at it for a while.
There's something else.
He had a couple of shots before he did.
I brought up the Marian Friars Minor earlier, and they had said something. If I remember right, they do the prophecies in Latin and in Greek. So that's another reason it takes so long.
Cool.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I was wondering, has the society ever asked to do the pre-55? Do you know?
Like, have they been asked?
No, have they
Yeah.
asked the Pope to do the pre-55? Because the Institute
No, I think
asked
it's a
them.
pretty solid stance. I think it's a pretty solid stance or solidified stance in the society that they do the 62, just in the interest of trying to be as obedient to the church as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the 62, there isn't anything inherently wrong with the 62.
Mm-hmm.
So just in an effort, to be more in communion with Rome as much as they possibly could. And it's just in the spirit of what Archbishop Lefebvre wanted, because he established the society, say the 62. So I don't think there's anything like that.
No. And there's no problem or anything. I just was wondering if if the main reason is just to not cause problems where there don't need to be any, what's the harm in asking? Because if they say no, they'll just say, well, we'll be obedient to you. There's no problem with it, so we'll just use the 62. That's fine. But if they ask and they say, sure, go for it, you're still being obedient because you're asking. You're asking your superior.
That's true.
But I don't know. It is a little bit weird, the idea of using a 62 missile for most of the year and then for 1 week going to a different missile. Like the other argument would just use the pre-55 missile the entire year. Just for, if nothing else, consistency. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how different the 62 is from the 55 missile outside of Holy Week. I know Holy Week was the main change. But I would find it difficult to see that as being disobedient to ask for permission to do something. Just like when they ask for permission to consecrate bishops,
I wonder how that's going. Has there been any dialogue there on getting new bishops for the society?
I mean, it's mostly just rumors, but
They got permission in principle.
They did.
It's the same thing that happened in the 80s.
Yeah, they got permission in principle, and then they were just working out, like, sending names to the Vatican and stuff. From my understanding, could be wrong. And then Pope Francis got sick, and they're like, well, we're not going to do this while he's sick and dying. That's just not right. And then, got a new pope, and so I think they're getting ready to ask him.
I feel like Pope Leo. I have a good feeling about Pope Leo being open to that.
I think so.
Yeah, he seems a lot more conservative. Like
Well, what good comes out of saying no, like denying it? A lot of good would come out of approving it.
Well, it's the idea of promulgating more of the traditional mass, where some people in Rome have the idea that the division between the Novus Ordo and the traditional mass is a net negative, or it actively causes disputes and error within Catholic communities, or just causes splits.
Mm-hmm.
So they just want to unite the whole church into the Novus Ordo. I mean, that was the whole basis of the Traditionis Custodes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be their incentive, is like, no, we don't want to consecrate more bishops. That's going to promulgate this mass anymore. And, especially because the society is the biggest traditional, organization in the world. So that just could be a possibility.
I guess I just think if he says no, they're going to keep asking and keep trying to be obedient and building a good relationship. And
I think even if he did say no, they would still consecrate more bishops.
Yeah, no, and that's my point. Like, at some point, there has to be more bishops. There has to be.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity, there has to be more bishops. And so it only goes on so long before, practically speaking, you understand, like, it's going to happen. So,
They just have to make sure that, Bishop Fillet just has to make sure that, we do our due diligence and exhausting every possible option to get those bishops before going to that. Because that's the whole premise for Archbishop Lefebvre in the 80s when he consecrated those bishops, because, he was dying, he needed bishops, he got permission in principle. He did it out of necessity because they weren't giving him the answers he needs. They kept stalling, delaying, things like that.
And it was not because Lefebvre necessarily wanted bishops just for the society, but there was no traditional bishops anywhere. There was no fraternity, there was no institute, there was no anybody. And so tradition would die out. And so somebody had to do it, or tradition was going to die out. There would be a little bit different of an argument today than in the 1980s if the Vatican ever followed through on their promise to the fraternity to give the fraternity bishops. or to give the Institute bishops, or to give the I think it's the Society of Bona Jesu, like if they had bishops, it'd be a little bit different of a situation, but they've never even done that. It's something they promised. So we find ourselves right back where we were. If the society doesn't consecrate bishops, who is going to? How is there going to be more good bishops? Or traditional bishops at least. It really is a
That's
necessity.
true. Last time Father Purdy was in San Antonio, I'm pretty sure what he said, this was during his homily, I'm pretty sure he said that sometime next year, 2026, is when new bishops would be consecrated, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe next year.
Did he say that like did he form that statement in like a matter of fact, or like it's a possibility?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said that the Bishop Fillet has been in pretty much constant correspondence with Rome, and they've been working on it. So yeah.
Do they have any idea how many they want or how many bishops they want to consecrate?
It's
No.
gonna be, I thought it was more than 4. It's
Yeah,
not
it
going to be
probably
4.
needs to be.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be more.
Well, the need is greater now than it was back then because there's a
that's
lot
true.
more people seeking out the sacraments.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, I don't know. I mean, what do y'all think? Like, because you get a fine line, especially. I mean, if they ask permission from the Vatican
All
to
I can
consecrate
say,
12,
it doesn't hurt to have more bishops.
yeah,
We could definitely use them because Bishop Fillet is running everywhere, and it's like
Mhm.
you need bishops that you can spread out. I think if we had a handful more, that wouldn't hurt.
Mhm.
It wouldn't
And
hurt to have more bishops than that.
and overall, the society has more resources and money now to create more seminaries as well.
Mhm.
I don't know how large the demand is for another seminary, but I know they rebuilt the seminary in Dilwyn.
Mhm.
They just built the Immaculata. Just overall, they are able to get the funds together, I think, to build more seminaries. I think the demand is there. So if we have more bishops, it would, maybe we can, that's an aspect to it as well, that we have more bishops to take care of more seminaries. Because right now we have 2 major. Well, how many are there? I know there's the 2 major ones. There's one in Switzerland, I think, and then the one in Virginia. But is there a third one?
I think there's one in Australia or New Zealand. And
Is there one in South America?
I thought there was one in South America, but
Yeah.
my point is, like, if it comes down to the argument of necessity and not just approval, because if the society goes and they just say 12 or 20 or 50 bishops, however many they say, right, and the Vatican says, cool, go for it, it's a moot point, just do that. But if the Vatican says no, no bishops, well, now you're only consecrating bishops because of the need, the necessity. This, I think that's falls under supplied jurisdiction, and so you can't go do as many as just as convenient. If you don't need 20 bishops, you can't consecrate 20 bishops. That's why Lefebvre only consecrated 4, and not 8. Right. Now, I would say the need is bigger now than it was back then, so it's probably would be more than 4, I would think, but I don't know. But it's also not 100, right? So where would that line be? I would think if you have 8 bishops, that's not too bad. It's actually like pretty good.
That'd be really good.
That's pretty good.
Just because think about the amount of confirmations you have every year too. Like it's just there's so many. Like for a bishop going all the traveling he has to do, and sometimes confirmations get hold till the next year just because the bishop can't get to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, and that you would take care of that problem if you had more. Like 8 bishops would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we get 8, but that would be pretty awesome.
I mean, the society is more than doubled since the 80s
Yeah,
when this was
exactly,
done. So it's like, 8 to 4. You could probably justify more, but I mean,
I'm just
8
throwing a number
would be
out there.
definitely be.
Just 12. 12 is a
12.
great number.
12 is a good number.
Maybe 20. How about that?
20.
I just
Well, I was
say, hey,
thinking-
make them
I
all
was thinking
bishops.
along the lines, like,
Just
Well,
make every
well,
prince the society edition.
I was thinking like, hey, the 12 apostles, like that kind of, just a little bit like that.
True.
I don't know. Again, it just gets down to
I
like
like that.
if you have to use that argument, you have to go with the lowest number that fills the need. I would think, but I'm no canon lawyer and I have no idea. So
However many that Sam needs. That's what's important.
Yeah.
How many do you need, Sam?
Sam, write a letter to the society and say, hey,
I probably need two
I need-
just for myself
I
alone.
need this. Man.
You know.
They need two.
I got a
they
lot
need
of sins
two
to cover, man. I got a lot of sins.
Yeah. I need to be reconfirmed like every other week, please.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Sam needs a good beating, is what he needs.
Yeah. Every once in a while, dude. Went back to jiu-jitsu today, and
How was that?
Nice.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just in town here, so it was just like Joe and a few other guys. But Joe's gotten a lot better, man. I was really tired by the end of it. Really tired.
He's a wiry dude.
I wouldn't
Which
say
Joe?
Kirby.
Okay.
Kirby.
I wouldn't say I took a beating, but mentally I took a beating because it's kind of humbling to be out of jiu-jitsu for months and months and months and go back and realize, wow, I'm out of shape.
It is. It's true.
Yeah, having a
Very
girlfriend
humbling.
do that to you.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't he a lot bigger than you?
Joe?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
I mean, he's pretty tall.
He's
I
just
don't know if that's
tall.
a factor.
He's
That's what,
wiry.
that's what I meant.
He's
That's what I
not
was-
wiry, but
He might be taller. I don't remember now. Now that
I don't
think
know.
about
he
it.
is.
I don't
He is
remember him
taller?
being like
Okay.
pretty tall.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think-
you guys are relatively close in height. Like it's not like a mess. No, I take that back. Because isn't he close to 6 foot, right? And you're like 5'2".
Yeah, I'm 5'1"
Well,
and
I'm-
a half, but
I thought he was like at my
Sam's
eye
5'2".
level,
No.
and he's
Yeah.
I don't know, like 6'3" or
Oh,
something like
maybe.
that.
he's
6'2".
definitely not 6'3".
I mean, I'm taller than he is. Like I'm 6'2", but
Oh,
for any of you ladies that were wondering, yes, I'm 6'2" and more.
Oh no, I think I'm losing my internet. Oh no, are you still there? Well, there goes that.